Hot on the heels of ChatGPT changing up their whole image generation process, Ideogram has released Ideogram 3.0, the next evolution of their process. And the reason I wanted to cover it in a video, I don't do as many art videos, AI art videos on this channel because we focus mostly on creative writing. But Ideogram is kind of important to authors because it has been one of the best and easiest ways to create really good, high quality book covers using AI. And so what we want to discover today is it as good, this new 3.0 model, is it as good as producing these book covers today, or other use cases that authors might be looking at, such as concept art or logos or things like that? And can we do a good job inside of Ideogram? So we have here a couple of things in Ideogram. Now, one of the things we've sort of discovered when you compare Ideogram to other competitors like Midjourney or something like that, is that Ideogram seems to have a really strong basis in graphic design. Anything that involves any kind of graphic design like logos, infographic stuff, and of course, book covers all have a very strong design element. The others like Midjourney, while I love Midjourney, it's still my #1 favorite AR art generator out there. It's more for aesthetic reasons. It looks pretty. It's not necessarily as good at specific graphic design tasks. And the same can be said for ChatGPT. Even the new version of ChatGPT, I think, doesn't quite get the graphic design element quite as good as Ideogram does. So it really has this unique place in the AI art sphere focusing on graphic design elements. And as you can see from some of the images here, these were generated with the previous version of Ideogram. I asked it to create a supernatural thriller cover, and you can see it absolutely nailed the tone of these covers here that you can see. I also have some examples here of a concept art image I was trying to do about the god Ra from Egyptian mythology. And up here, I just had a standard logo test for a fantasy author, just with the name fantasy author. And you can see it does a pretty bang up job here. And so what I want to do to start with is I want to take these and replicate them with the 3.0 model using the exact same prompts and see what we get. So let's start with this one. This one's probably my favorite of these 4 of the supernatural thriller type. Like, that is just awesome. Like, that is so haunting and like just amazing. Now, one of the things Ideogram does is they will have this thing called a magic prompt. So you put your prompt in, and then it will sometimes, if you use the magic prompt and you have that turned on, it will take that prompt and sort of expand it and make it even cooler. So you can see over here on the right, we have my original prompt. Pretty simple, supernatural thriller novel book cover. The title is called Shevins Creek, and the author is author name, with a subtitle of a supernatural thriller novel. By the way, you can see it got all of that text correct. But then the magic prompt went a little bit further and said a supernatural thriller novel book cover with the title Shevins Creek and the author name. The subtitle is a supernatural thriller novel. The cover image is a dark, eerie forest with fog. A ghostly figure with long hair is floating in the air. The figure is wearing a white dress. The background is a misty lake. The overall color has a dark blue background. So I want to actually test both of these. I want to test my original prompt with the magic prompt turned on, and then I want to test this magic prompt that it had given me previously, but with a new magic prompt turned off, if that makes sense. And then as you can see, this was created with Ideogram 2.0 rather than 3.0. So let's go ahead and select this. Up here at the top, we're going to input that prompt. We want to make sure 3.0 is selected here, the most advanced model. We want to make sure it's set to like a 2:3 ratio, or we could potentially do like a 9:6 ratio to make it a little thinner. I'm just going to go with 2:3 for now. For magic prompt, we want to turn this on for this specific. Actually, we'll turn it to auto. I think what I usually see with auto is that it does some with and some without. We'll turn it to auto and just hit generate. And then while that's going, we'll go ahead and select this magic prompt, put that in there. And because I want it to use this exact prompt, I'm going to turn the magic prompt off. And by the way, there are also other things here. You can select the style. There's random, general, realistic design, or you can add reference images, which we will do later. You can also select the color palette that you want, which we don't really need for this. So I'll go ahead and hit generate for that. And now if we look at the results here, some of these do not look quite as good. Now, some of them are all right. This one looks okay to me. There's something weird going on the side here that almost looks like the edge of a book, like a physical book. But if we look at some of these others, this one's okay as well. This one, however, got really illustrated and just does not match the tone at all of what we're looking for. This one, again, is okay. So I've noticed looking at some of the results, and here we have the second one. This one, it's okay, but if you look at all of these, first of all, they're all extremely similar to each other. And I've noticed that that's the case if you have magic prompt turned off. They will often be very, very similar to each other. But you notice there's just something that's just not quite as haunting or spooky as the original that we were looking at. And I've kind of noticed that's the case with Ideogram. It's getting it close, but I almost feel like it has gotten slightly worse, which is a little bit scary to me. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to try doing their reference, and I'm going to actually bring in the references from the old thriller novel covers that we saw before. So let's go into here. We're going to copy this prompt again, use the exact same prompt. We're going to turn magic prompt to auto. And under style, we're going to go here to reference. And unfortunately, you are going to have to upgrade to plus monthly. So I'm just going to do that just for now. I probably won't keep this, but we're just going to upgrade it really quick. And we're just testing this out to see how well it does. So we're going to add reference images, and I've gone ahead and selected 3 of the images that it produced before. So we're just going to import those, and I believe you can have up to 3 of them. So now that I have those 3, which I thought were absolutely spot on, we're going to generate this again. And whoops, I accidentally set them to square. So let's try that again. And yeah, so it gave us something. It's not amazing. It definitely doesn't have this sort of variety to it, but still pretty good. One of the things I do know it does pretty well is getting the text correct. Although there are some weird ones that have some janky placement of things, like the author name in the supernatural thriller novel here. Like, so it's okay. Let's try this one more time. Let's regenerate this one, but with this as the reference image to just see if it does any better. So we'll go ahead and select this prompt. We'll turn magic prompt off. And for reference, we'll just give it that one image to go on. Okay, so honestly, not a whole lot of difference. They all look kind of the same, still facing the same way. Everything is pretty much the same. So honestly, if I'm being honest, I think I liked the 2.0 a little bit better, at least for book covers. So let's try some of the other things. I want to try also book covers for epic fantasy, because this is one of the things that I found Ideogram, the 2.0 version, did not do very well. Because epic fantasy novels usually have less of a graphic design element and more of an illustrative element. There's usually more going on the cover than just a couple of, graphic design elements that are pretty similar across the board. So we're going to say a epic fantasy book cover. The title is, say, The Wars of... No, we'll do that as the series title. I don't know. The King's Lament. Something generic like that. The author name is Jason Hamilton. And the series title is The Wars of Illidan. Okay? This is one of my worlds. And let's give it a little more specific instruction. It features a man in, well, actually, no, let's just leave it open-ended. I just want to see what it gives me in terms of the vibe of an epic fantasy cover. And for the style, we're going to actually go here and select some different ones. I've got a Brandon Sanderson cover. I've got a Tolkien cover, and another one from an indie author that I thought looked pretty cool. All definitely in the epic fantasy realm with those references in mind. Well, let's just see how this goes. Let's turn the magic prompt to auto to see how that goes and run with that. Okay, so it gave us the epic fantasy cover, and these are definitely better than what I've seen before. They're not perfect. And in fact, if you look at this, like, what's going on with this cape here? This boat thing looks weird, like it has this weird mass. There's definitely a lot of weird AI-isms in here. There's some random text thrown in here. Let's see if any of these got any better. Okay, there's something weird happening with the hand here. Yeah, like, I almost feel like this isn't any better. Now, if we were to do this exact same thing with the 2.0 prompt, I guarantee you, like, it wouldn't be so good, specifically for this genre. I also think it's really interesting how close these came to each other. Like, they look almost the same color palettes. They look like they're coming from the same place, even with the magic prompt turned on. And you know what? Yeah, most of these I would not say are as good, except for this one. This one actually looks like a decent fantasy cover. So that was with the 2.0. But for some reason, like, this one is supposedly better. The 3.0 is supposedly better with text. I actually think I'm getting better text out of the old one. which is really weird to me. So let's go back to 3.0. Let's try this one more with the magic prompt turned all the way on and see what that does. All right, so it gave us 4 options here. These are pretty decent. They definitely look like epic fantasies. It did get the text wrong here for the series title. This one was okay. This one's okay. This one's okay. But I would still say, like, I could definitely get better out of a good designer for my books. So I'm not sure really what to think of this. I could also give it more instruction. It seems like maybe for this particular model, more instruction is better. It's not necessarily going to capture the vibe unless you tell it what that vibe is going to be. But all in all, it's okay. Definitely not a huge leap up. So now I want to try doing this concept art image that I did here of Ra. Ra is always a fun one to do because he has the head of a falcon and the body of a man. And so that's just kind of a fun challenge for AI to work on. So I'm just going to copy the original prompt here, stick that in here. Let's get rid of our reference images. So the original prompt is the Egyptian god Ra, head of a falcon, superhero pose, desert background, epic, powerful concept art style. Keep it at the same ratio of 2:3 using the 3.0. Let's set magic prompt to auto, and the style will keep on auto as well, and hit generate. While that's running, let's do the same for this fantasy author prompt. So I'm going to put that in there. For this one, I'm going to set it to a 1:1 ratio, but leave everything else the same. And let's see, are there any others? Let's do, so this was a test I did to create like realistic photos of a non-existent person that you could use for a pen name or something like that. So let's try this one. The photorealism was already really great here, but I want to just try again, see if it does any better. Realistic photograph of a blonde middle-aged woman smiling for a photo. We'll leave that at 1:1 as well. And let's see what others we might want to try here to recreate. Yeah, I think that'll do it for now. So first off, this one of Ra looks great, but maybe it's because I added the word superhero in there, or I had the word concept in there, but it's all very like illustrated now, which is not necessarily what I want. And some of them just like, what's going on with his face here? There's something weird there happening. This one's okay. So if we modified this, so let's add this again and say, well, let's try it a couple of ways. Photorealistic. Let's try that. We can also change the style here to realistic, but I'm just going to try it with just the prompt and see how that does. And then let's try it one more time and instead say like, I don't know, Pixar style, something like that, just to see what we get from different types. Okay, so for photorealistic, it gave us these things. It looks more 3D model than photorealistic to me. And it's adding weird text above him here and here. This one didn't get the head of the falcon right. This one is supposed to be Pixar style, but as you can tell, there's still some clearly illustrated options in there. Also, I don't think that pose is particularly good. Anyway, a little bit disappointing there. For the author picture, I think this looks pretty good. They definitely look photorealistic. They look a little professional, which might not be a bad thing. But the ones that we had before almost looked like you had snapped it with an iPhone or something like that. These look a little bit more like the lighting is controlled and all of that. And then finally, these author logos here, I think these are fine. I like this one. I like the way the dragon kind of goes over the F here. It's a nice, simple design. Like you could take this and put it into Photoshop and vectorize it and all of that stuff and really get something good out of it. Same for this one, I think. This one's pretty good too, except this dragon looks more like an S than the O it's supposed to be replacing here. But, you know, with enough iteration, this would be fine for logos. But I honestly don't think that the original 2.0 version was that bad at logos either. I would say they're pretty much just as good, if I were being honest. So that is my overview of Ideogram. I would love to hear your thoughts because I've been playing it with it in a certain direction. You know, I wonder if there's just different ways of prompting it that I'm missing here. So please let me know your thoughts having played around with Ideogram 3.0. From my perspective, it's not much better than the original 2.0, and it will actually cost you a little bit less. As you can see here, it says it's 4 credits per generation for the 3.0, whereas only 2 credits for each generation at the 2.0. So just something to keep in mind there. I almost would start with the 2.0, and if you're not getting what you want out of it, then maybe then move up to the 3.0 to see if it can do it there. So those are just my general thoughts. Let me know what you think. Now, as it turns out, Ideogram is actually probably one of the, while it's the easiest, it's probably the least used by professional designers that are using AI. And the reason for that is because you can't really do much with it. You kind of get what you get. With others, there's a lot more flexibility and things you can do with it. There are many different ways of being able to get, for instance, consistent characters or images of your face included on the thing, depending on what that looks like and which model you're using. So I really think something like Midjourney or using Stable Diffusion inside of Leonardo or something like that, or the gold standard is actually like having your own Stable Diffusion set up on a gaming machine or something like that, where you can train different models on different faces and stuff like that. Like that is the gold standard, but it takes a lot more work. And to help with that, I actually hired a guy inside of my Story Hacker membership to really go in depth on AI art. He did like 2 weeks on Ideogram, but then he went more in depth on Midjourney. He went through a couple of map making tools out there for you fantasy authors that want to create maps. And now he's going to be diving deeper into a lot of other different topics around AI art and graphic design. The guy's a graphic designer, has been doing that his whole life. And so if you want more on that, I would encourage you to take a look down below at the link to my Story Hacker membership. We got lots of cool stuff in there besides AI art stuff, my step-by-step process to go from having nothing to having a book in your hands, and the whole process to go through with that, including publishing and everything. So check that out, and I will see you in the next video.